Hello, Facebook family. It's 3 o'clock. It is the time of day. If you're gonna roast something, now's the time. All right, so I'm going to make a beef stew. I just sharpened my knife. I have my Le Creuset pan here, which is a cast iron enameled pan. I have all my ingredients going, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to salt my grass-fed stew meat. Stew meat's tough, and that's why I say start it earlier, because any type of roast or stew, when the meat, it tends to be tough, because like the stew meat's like the extras, you know? And so whenever you have that, it's nice to cook it low and slow. I have my oven on at 325. This is already getting warm here, and I salted my meat, and I'm just going to toss this around a little bit so it's all salty and nice. Hi, buddy. And I'm just going to brown my meat. I'm making a stew. See, I'm not making it on this video here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this in there and turn up my heat now. It was kind of warm, but I'm just gonna let this start getting brown. This kind of like locks in our juices, locks in our flavor. And then I'm going to cut up my onion in preparation to toss that in. So I'm gonna let that do its thing. I've got tomato here, I have garlic here, I have beans, I have corn, that was from my garden last year. I have some mushrooms. You can literally put any veggie combo in the stew, tastes delicious. I'll show you how I build out my sauce, how you can use like a stock if you want. I'm gonna do some wine and this vegan Worcestershire sauce that I love the flavor on. I'm also going to do some tomatoes that I canned also. So I'm just gonna prepare my onion now so that's ready to go in once the meat is happy. What's everybody making for dinner today? It's St. Patrick's Day, so maybe lots of corned beef and cabbage. I'm just gonna crank this up. So I want this to get all nice and brown. And see, see how it's starting to get brown? We want it to be brown. So one thing about searing in your meat is being patient and not moving it so that like that brownness can come, because that's all your flavor. This is the importance of building your dish like layer by layer. So we're just gonna wait and be patient. I'm gonna cut up my onion. Just gonna do chunks of onion here, because as it all cooks together, they'll go really small anyway. I throw all my compost out to the chickens so it can go back to the earth. And then we take our horse manure and our chicken manure. We use that as topsoil for our garden, because that will put carbon back into our garden soil. So everything is kind of full circle here. If you have chickens, I wonder if your chickens are all of a sudden laying more. Mine are being so fruitful now that the sun is coming back, the longer daylight hours. I love it. Put that in the compost. Cut up my other onion. I have like a medium onion that's going in this. Now my meat is cooking. It's splattering on me. Alright, okay, now we're getting some browning. So, oh my gosh. I'm gonna grab my little splatter guard. I love this thing. If you don't have one, they're super inexpensive. They save the cooking day a lot, so you can like still have your high heat. So when you sear, you want airflow. If I would just put the lid on, it would start, the salt would pull the water out, and all of a sudden my pot would have a ton of water in it, but I want this to be like more of a dry sear so that the moisture goes into the meat. It makes a difference. Okay. Almost done cutting my onion. Got a little distracted there. actually see that did happen to me because I moved it too soon. I pulled a little bit of water out of the meat, but it'll go back dry again. You just gotta be patient for this searing process. And then it's like, you can dump everything into it. So sometimes I will do, I have cooked up some einkorn or some barley or some rice, and I'll toss that in my stew. Tonight I'm actually going to put my stew with next to some pasta. So it's, you can really change up however you want to make it. It's really easy. And this is all like, I love making like family dishes where everybody can be satisfied and find their meal delicious. There's a little something for everything. So for in this dish, like the sweet corn, the yummy green beans, we have the onion and garlic for a lot of good flavor. Oh yeah, I'm gonna chop up my garlic a little bit. And then like mushrooms, like you can get a lot of veggies in there. And this is a great way to get veggies into your family just really easily, like just a yummy, pleasing taste. And I'm gonna throw some spices in here like thyme. I love thyme. Thyme is one of my favorite spices to add. If you guys have any questions about making a stew, throw them up in the chat here and I can answer those. Okay, I'm gonna check on this in 1 second. I'm gonna grab my thyme spice. It's right at the front of my spice cabinet because I use it quite a lot. Oh boy, Stu, what are you doing? You're not doing the meat the way I want today. I'm gonna leave this sucker off, just in case that's pulling it in. I think when I turn down the, it could also be, I turned down the heat really quick because it was splattering on me. And that was just enough to change it's like cooking through chemistry. You kind of have to you have to know the layers of what's happening. And I might have bumped myself, but it's okay. So now I'm just gonna wait for that water to cook out of there a little bit so I can get that water to go back into my meat so it'll be delicate later. And so then once this is seared, then I will add in all my veggies, put it in the oven for around 1.5 hours or 2 hours, and it will be good to go whenever we want to eat it for dinner. I love doing a stew or a roast, and something that takes a while, like where you can kind of prep it and plan it quick. This is gonna take, be under 20 minutes by the time I get everything in here. And then you have like this just really flavorful, nourishing meal for dinner whenever you're ready to eat. Okay, come on, meat. See how this one has that little bit of a brown like color on it? That's what we're looking for. So we're on our way. On our way. Just takes a little patience. Hang on, Miss Hazel. I get lots of questions on, why grass-fed beef. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of information about, that old saying, like you are what you eat. Well, if you are eating a lot of chicken, especially conventionally, it's very hard to find chickens that are not fed grain. So if your animal is eating grain, you are eating grain. And if you have any inflammation that you're working on, then eating an animal that eats grain is going to be something that you're going to want to avoid. So grass-fed beef, not only are they having to stand outside eating grass, eating the hay, they are taking in that sunlight, and they're also taking in the nutrients from the ground. So when we actually look at them under the microscope, we know that they actually have more nutrients in the meat than like a grain-fed cow, especially if that grain is in any way GMO, and then that's like a whole nother ball game, because then there's the glyphosates and the different matter in the meat as well that was in the grain. If that's like a topic you want to really dive into, the Weston Price Foundation is really got a lot of cool information about that. And then chicken, they are fed so much conventionally. They're fed a ton of GMO, plus they're fed a lot of soy, because those are two inexpensive grains to grow. They're the US's most common commodity crops. And so even when you buy organic chicken, it's often fed organic soy. So I like to find, and it's actually, you're actually better off finding like a grass-fed beef even at like an Aldi or somewhere over eating an organic chicken that's been fed organic soy. So you kind of have to like weigh it out and see what your priorities are around your health of what what the animals are eating that you are then eating. So, all right, we're gaining a little ground here. I am actually going to toss in my garlic a little bit. Sometimes I like to move my meat out of the way, and I will put in my spice, my thyme here. And then I'm going to put in my garlic so it can actually cook a little bit. Anytime like you do onions or garlic, it's kind of nice to let them cook a little bit, because then you're, instead of just tossing them in there, you're going to bring out another layer of flavor. Okay, I'm going to toss in my onions also. Onions and garlic are so good all year round, but this time of year, this is when the leeks and the spring onions are coming up, and our body, especially our livers, are craving that because we've had kind of a long stagnant winter usually, and so it's really great to have, eating foods that are going to help your liver flush and reboot and get ready for the summer. We love to eat seasonally, so on a cold day, we like to eat things that are just warming to the soul, warming to the gut. And then in summer, we eat a lot more cold salads and cold things. But it's really cool how your body actually will start responding to that way of eating. Okay, I'm just gonna give this a couple minutes here. Now all the water is out of there, thank goodness. I'm gonna give the onion and that garlic just a couple of minutes. Okay. Next thing I'm going to put in is my beans. And when I freeze them, I try to already make them a little bit on the smaller side. So they're already kind of like good to go, easy peasy. But you easily could, cut them up if you wanted smaller ones or whatnot. But it's so fun when you have a garden and then you bring your, you freeze your stuff, and then you have these really great ingredients to add into your food later. And it's getting me excited for gardening season this year. So I'm going to go, in goes my beans. And there's all different ways that you can do this. Like, you could actually start your pot with the garlic and the onions first. Quiet, guys. And you can build your flavor that way. So I really encourage you to play with it. If you've never made a stew, just kind of play with the different complexity of flavors. Throw my beans in. I have a habit of overfilling my pot too, so this is a good color complexity. And I'm taking them out hand by hand because there's some water in there. I don't want to add more water right now. Put these in, stir these around. My onions are starting to brown up nice, so it's good to give them a minute to do their thing. Okay, before I add anything else, I'm actually going to take I have some red wine here. Any red wine works, and put a good splash of that in there. And that'll actually deglaze my pan a little bit. And my Worcestershire. I like that. I like this one. This is not like a shaky one. This is like an already sauce. I'm just going to tip a little water out of my canned tomatoes. I'm going to toss those in there. Still have some corn and mushrooms to add in. And the cool thing about this stew is because we're gonna slow cook it for a long time, all these flavors will have time to meld together. And I'll also add a little bit more salt and pepper before I do those things. Okay. Okay, and the same thing, my corn is from the garden. We froze this corn last year, and I've been on a big kick to clean out my freezer because garden season's back again. Look how full my pan is. I have a habit of doing this. You don't want to overfill it, but also knowing that this will cook down a bit, so just have patience with yourself. And that is it. So now I'm going to transfer this to a 325-degree oven for 1.5 to 2 hours, and this is dinner. So I hope you guys try making a stew. Have a great day.